What is up, business nerds? Happy Wednesday night. Welcome to Home Service Happy Hour. I'm Dan Plata. I got my beer, and we got another Dan in the house. We got Dan Young from Service Pixel. He's got a beer too. What do you got over there, Dan?
I got a local American style ale from the Carolinas.
That sounds delicious. I had Busch Lights in my fridge, and therefore
Nice.
I'm drinking Busch Lights. But it is the collectible. Ooh, I almost spilled it. It's not just any Busch Light. It's the collectible
Oh wow,
yellowfin
edition.
tuna can. Yeah, so still got to put it in my best damn bookkeeping koozie, just because of on brand stuff and whatever. But it is a fancy ass. Just so you know, it is a fancy ass Busch Light can, not just your regular old Busch Light can in here. And there's like a bug on it or something, so I'm gonna get that protein out of there. How you doing tonight, man? You having a good night?
Doing great, man. I actually had a couple late night. Usually I don't have late night client calls, but I just got off of one right before this. So
oh damn, you're in the zone.
Yeah, I'm kind of doing a little bit. It was like a easy morning in the morning, and then kind of towards the afternoon and evening, it's kind of gotten busier.
Piling it in. What time zone you in? Where are you at?
So I'm in South Carolina, so I'm on East Coast time.
You get the East Coast time. Well, yeah. we'll try not to keep you up too late into your past your bedtime. I'm all about. I want to get into this AI stuff. And like here's the background, Dan. You don't know this, but everybody that listens to this podcast knows that I believe AI to be the beginning of the end of the world. I'm that guy, and I'm not a doomsdayer. I just have watched The Matrix too many times. I've seen the iRobots in The Matrix, and I'm pretty sure this is the beginning of the end. But I'm not like an avoidance type of dude. I'm not gonna like go dig a hole under the ground. I'm just gonna ride the wave. And so somebody had put it to me the best, and we're gonna get into all things AI, and I want to hear about what you do. But first, we're just gonna like talk about it and like the world with AI and like pontificate, and then we'll get into like specifically how you apply it. Somebody had said to me recently at a trade show it's not AI that's going to replace you or your business or your job. It's the guy that uses AI that's going to replace you or your business or your job. Right. And we've seen this happen time and time again in history with the invention of the automobile and the internet and cell phones and like how fast, like I was literally referencing Blockbuster the other day. I made a claim on my podcast earlier today. I have like a Wednesday afternoon radio show. And I said, I'm just going out on a limb. And I'm not like wishing this to happen. I just felt like making a bold ass stupid prediction. But I said, I think QuickBooks will like, as we know it, will be out of business in 5 years. They're just going to have a hard time adapting, and somebody's going to come in and just totally change the game of bookkeeping. And as a bookkeeping business, I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be, but I know these guys aren't figuring it out. They've been struggling with intelligence for the last decade that I've been using them, and it hasn't gotten a whole lot better. It still suggests all the wrong things all the time. And so it's coming, but it's going to be whoever figures it out and uses it the faster. And you're going to see tons of things that you recognized and knew and companies that have been around forever that I think it's going to be like that next wave of just zoop, gone, Blockbuster, gone. As I say all that, you're nodding your head. What you live in this world. What's your overall thought of where the hell we're going?
Yeah, I mean, I live in this world on a regular basis, and honestly, usually when things are being disrupted, call it like the smartphone, right? Was a big disruption for the cellular networks and the cell phone industry. This is different. It's a lot different. I mean, I'm paying attention on a daily basis of like what's going on, and I'm even having a hard time kind of keeping up with everything because there's just so much information and so many new tools that are being built on a regular basis that, to your point with like QuickBooks, companies like Salesforce and like some of these large multi-billion-dollar companies, there's going to be small startups with like 5 or 10 people in them that are going to be able to build like the same thing, right? And you're going to have like, I've seen a bunch of videos on this on social networks where they talk about, some of the solo founders that are going to become billionaires one day. Where they have a handful of maybe outsourced development, helping them with different, products and tools, and they're doing subscription services and things like that. I definitely think it's going to happen. There's a couple companies today like Midjourney, which is a very popular like generative AI for images, and they do mostly like illustration designs and things like that are kind of whimsical. Um, but that company was only like 20 or 30 employees when they were $100 million company.
Jesus, that's a good
Yeah,
margin structure. They're doing all right.
yeah, yeah. They're doing pretty good. It's just okay. But yeah, you're going to see a lot of that where you're going to see. I think it's going to be a little bit of an arms race for like innovation
Yeah.
because the barrier of entry is like so low now. Where before you would have to have a lot of capital to invest in the research and development and everything else in the product, where like AI is just kind of significantly chopping that down at a fraction.
As you're talking, I'm getting like 1,000 questions going through my head. So I'm writing them down real quick, like bullet point style, so that I can, because I don't want to get like too far into the weeds right away. First, I want to like get to know Dan Young a little bit more and how he got here and what his background is and why this is like so important to you. And then we're gonna go back into some like big picture things about where this is going and how to apply it. So let's do a little trip down memory lane. I always like to like get into your history a little bit and figure out what makes you tick. Give us a little Dan Young background. How have you always been a tech nerdy dude? Did you like were you doing this since you were like 8? You were like that kid like taking apart computers and rebuilding hard drives back in the day. Where'd you come from?
Honestly, I wish I was that story of like Zuckerberg building his first app in high school and selling it to Microsoft and that whole thing. That's not my story at all. I actually grew up in the home service business and the home remodeling business. So my father worked in that for 35, 40 years. I got into it. I worked in like the window roofing space, kind of got my feet wet in that. Ended up doing a lot of consulting work. I had a joint venture business in the home remodeling space. Now it's still existing for about 8 years, where we help with lead generation with kind of larger size home remodeling companies.
Yeah.
And I was working for a company. I was doing business to business sales when it came to what they used to call the Internet of Things. And so we used to sell little modules and widgets and stuff like that. So it's a technical, thing to sell. But I would sell to small businesses and mid-sized businesses. And one day I had an idea, and I decided, like an idiot, to share it with my employer, um, which was not a great idea. And actually, at first, they really loved it. This was my first startup that I had, which was about 10 years ago. It was a company by the name of Go Sell Mobile. So it was a business-to-business software, and I've been doing kind of the entrepreneurial journey ever since. I had an AI roofing company about 7 or 8 years ago. For people that are in the roofing space, I'm sure you've heard of EagleView before. EagleView had a very large lawsuit that happened that unfortunately my startup was kind of mixed in with the intellectual property infringement. So we had to shut down after a little bit of.
When you define, you said you had an AI startup for roofing. Like, what does that mean? What were you doing in that space with AI, with roofing in particular? Like, help me understand that.
Yeah, so what we were doing, we were licensing imagery from the largest insurance data company in the world. And they have these low flying kind of military style aircraft that would take very large imagery of
Yeah.
like neighborhoods and areas of disaster and stuff like that. But they would do it on a regular basis because they had a whole fleet of airplanes. And so they were looking at different ways of how they can make money off of the imagery. And one of the ideas that I approached them with as a startup was the ability to scan the roofs, run it through a machine learning algorithm that we had built in house, be able to detect the damage on the roof and score it, and then also measure it at the same time. So this was like a major innovation because if you're familiar with like an EagleView, it takes you 6-7 hours, or used to take you 6-7 hours to get the report, and then
Yeah.
you'd have to go back to the homeowner and give them the pricing and everything else. Or you're getting up on the roof and you're doing all the formulas, the calculations. Our AI was basically able to detect the roof and then also measure it within 60 seconds.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was amazing. So it was a really cool product that we had built. That was the first AI tool that I've ever worked on, and obviously that was before kind of like AI in the last 2 to 3 years has become very popular and trendy.
Yeah.
but this was something that took us a long time. It took us 12 months to build that product. It was, it's a lot of work.
Hell yeah. No, that's a cool, that's, it sounds like it damn near ahead of its time, but
yeah,
like that. And what you said, it just got like wrapped up. Was it just because of like the military intelligence stuff that it got wrapped up in some bullshit, or?
Yeah, so I got a phone call. I was in Toronto in a hotel, about to go to dinner, and I got a phone call from like the vice president of this publicly traded insurance data company. And he said, "Hey, Dan." I said, "Hey, everything okay?" And he said, "Actually, no. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to hand the phone over to legal." And I was like, "Shit. It's a Tuesday, 7 p.m. This is not good." And they said there was a judgment handed down from the highest level of the courts. It was a 10-year ongoing battle between these two companies. And they said effective immediately, our APIs are shut down. So you guys essentially are shut down.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I suppose
Yeah.
it's like if your whole product line is based on a specific, we had this conversation on my podcast earlier today too. Like I recently lost a pressure washing client where all of his marketing was just based on his GBP. And I've seen that before. I have some other companies I work with that are just like Google dependent. And my Facebook got shut down. And then I realized like my brand is also kind of Facebook dependent. So now I'm like really intentionally focused more on the podcast stuff, focused more on the YouTube stuff, and thinking more about that, and using LinkedIn, which I never really used to use. But yeah, it's like such a smack when something like that happens where you're like, oh shit, I need to make sure we got a couple like irons in the fire or alternatives to be able to do this thing. Because if this one straw breaks, then so does the camel's back, so to speak.
Yeah, and that was my takeaway learnings, character building exercises that you get right from startups. Yeah, don't have a single source of failure when it comes to your company. Don't also build your technology based on someone else's technology, right? So I don't want to ever do that again.
Yeah. I think about that. Like we use QuickBooks exclusively for our bookkeeping business. And like I said earlier, like I don't think they're the end all be all. And I don't see them getting much better. Like they're slow moving. They're trying, but they're too big. Like they can't adapt. They can't adapt fast enough because if they create something, it needs to go through 78 rungs of approval, right? Like I came from the corporate world. My mother-in-law was just waving at me. I had to be polite and way back. But so it's like we see that happen all the time. Like corporations get too big, they got 78 levels to approve something, and therefore they move too slow and they become obsolete. Obviously, some are better than others, but I do look at our business like everything we use is somebody else's software. Nothing is like internal proprietary, and I don't think that's the end of the world as long as there's alternatives. But I do need to make sure we're looking at the alternatives on a regular basis and have a plan to switch if something hits the fan, because we still got a bunch of clients that need data to run their business. So I do think about that often of like, what are we going to do? Like when AI like takes this thing over, and if it ain't QuickBooks' AI, like whose is it? And should we be working on it? Or, whose wagon are we hitching ourselves to?
That's a great question. So I do think about this a lot with AI, not on the software like product side, but more on like the people side. And not to be like dystopia about it. I do think there's some parts of AI that are going to be really great. But in situations like I know Microsoft had an announcement today, I think it was, they were laying off like 3% of the workforce. And obviously like some of those efficiencies are going to come with AI. And I think that the hard part about this is a lot of people kind of align themselves with their purpose with their work.
Yeah.
Right. And like, okay, like let's say if you're part of a layoff or, whatever, things happen, life happens, and then you go to, get back into the groove of things, you go to apply somewhere else. What if that job doesn't exist anymore? Right? What if that occupation is completely wiped? And I think that before you could just apply to a different company for the same title, right? Or for the same occupation. Well, what if that title or that occupation has completely been displaced? Right.
Well,
and so, yeah.
I dropped my pen that I was fidgeting with and now it's gone. It just AI must have.
Now you got no fidget toy.
It was like perfectly underneath inside. It would somehow spun sideways and got underneath the leg just far enough back that from my angle, it was gone. Yeah, and like you said, it's a little different than when, with the internet and with cell phones coming out. It's like the world changed a bit, but now it's going to change 100 times faster. And so I think the jobs disappearing is going to be way faster. And like us as a species having to learn how to adapt to that is going to be like on steroids. And people don't like change, right? So it's like, that's going to be a really weird thing. I mean, even like the tariffs are a small experiment in it, which is we all want jobs in the US, right? We all say that. But then when something is done that would create more jobs in the US, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this, right? Like we can hardly handle that to try to literally do a thing that most of us say we want. Like we say we want jobs in the US. And so we try to do something to make more jobs come back to the US, but we can't even like see that change is something that we actually said we wanted at a different time. Right. And so I don't have a hard and fast opinion on it. I'm just like, we're just living in the world and I don't have a dog in the fight and I'm just here to play the game. But I question our ability as a species to like adjust fast enough. I think that's probably the thing that worries me is there's just going to be like, even hell, when I close this show, my closing line is work smarter and harder, go earn some pride. And I agree with you. Like we get our fuel from doing hard work, accomplishing things, problem solving stuff. It makes us feel good. Like I feel at my worst, like mood wise, mojo wise, when I'm not being productive. And I look at that and I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do when something else is doing all my work for me. I'm just gonna like go grab my chainsaw and go out in the woods. I don't know what else I'm gonna do with myself. I gotta
like
be
how
a
you fill the void of time.
Yeah. I don't know what to do. I can only fish and hunt and golf so much. I gotta maybe I'll just start a butcher shop. Like I'll just be hunting and fishing. I'll be like, I don't know, somebody come and buy this stuff. Which actually, now that I say that, that's illegal anyway. You can't even do that. You can't sell wild game. So I don't know. I'll just volunteer to butcher everybody else's deer and fish. Like bring it on over. I can't kill your stuff for you, but I can sure butcher it for you. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's arguments like, I know Elon's talked a lot about this recently, but like there's arguments to be made that like the cost of things are going to be so significantly cheap that, to your point, what am I going to do with my time? Well, what if you could create multiple businesses, in a week, right? And actually, have proven models that would actually work and based on AI, and you could just, create things that people can consume, right? Whether that's content, whether that's food, whether that's whatever, right? That kind of service that you could provide. I don't know. Like it's just it almost feels like you can't pay attention enough. I don't know if it's my attention issues, but like I'm not. I'm going ADD right now with AI stuff that's out there. That there's just so much change. Zuckerberg said something that he was teasing towards with like Facebook ads and like how that's going to disrupt like marketing agencies and like how they'll have like Meta's AI kind of doing these things where it's like it will know, just tell it the audience that you want and tell it what service you have, and that it will come up with the content.
Yeah.
And it's like that just killed
so many marketing agencies are like, wait, what?
Yeah,
we're supposed to be the ones that come up with the content, dog.
yeah So I don't know, it's kind of like a crystal ball. You need to kind of make some assumptions on like what's going to happen. We have a couple of assumptions that we think are going to happen within the industry and stuff like that, and hopefully we're right.
I have 6 bullet points, but I think it's going to be 10 by the time we just get done jamming here. But I want to get back to like, we digress for a little bit. I want to get back to the Dan Young story. So your business got shut down. You had the startup. You kind of learned that lesson. Was that a launch into Service Pixel, or was there something that between then and now that kind of took you for a while?
Yeah, no, I actually had to take a break. I got kind of burnt out. The entrepreneurial lifestyle for a while. I was just like, I kind of want to just be an employee for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I ended up working as a head of product for a connected vehicle company for about 5 years. Fast growing company. I think it was employee like number 600. By the time I left there, it was like 3,000 employees. And then I got the itch back, and it was like, oh no,
Well, here we go.
I want to launch a venture again. So we ended up doing some market research, my partner and I, and we ultimately kind of landed on like the cleaning space at first. And so we met with a bunch of cleaning owners, kind of understanding some of their pain points. And so we launched a product called Clean Pixel. And so Clean Pixel was launched about 2 years ago. It's for specifically for the cleaning industry. Think about it as like almost like a chat GBT, but specifically for cleaning companies.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of like their nuances around contracts and social media posts and, creating like procedural documents and things like that that are specific for cleaning companies. And so we launched that. That's still a product we have today that we're still developing on. We have a few hundred companies using that product today. It's doing really well. And then the next kind of layer of the vision was going beyond cleaning and going much more automated. So Clean Pixel does a really good job of basically doing a task 10 times faster, right? And so, but it doesn't do the task for you, right? You still have to kind of interact with the product and click on things and get it done.
Yeah.
And take it to wherever you have to take it. Service Pixel, the vision behind that was taking it broader to any home service company. So HVAC, plumbing, electrical, landscaping, pest control, painting companies. We've had a lot of those. And getting into some of the other small niches, like the pressure washing companies and garage door companies and like ones like that. And so the pain associated that we're trying to address is most of the small to mid-sized home service companies absolutely hate creating social media posts.
Oh man. Oh yeah. We're awful at it.
Terrible at it. So timing is a problem because you don't have the time to do it. We've taken some studies on it. It takes about 22 hours a month between the designs and the captions and all that kind of stuff. And for people that are doing it, they're using Canva. They're not doing a really great job of it. It just, the quality comes either across very kind of off-brand, or it just comes across as not being very professional, which ultimately hurts you, right? Because whether we want to say this or not, perception is reality. So if people are seeing you online and your visuals are not very professional, then ultimately they might perceive the quality to be less, right? In the work that you do, which isn't really accurate, but it's perception.
It's true.
It's true. So what we did with Service Pixel is basically all you do is give us your website. We create a business profile based on your website. We pull data from it. We pull your color schemes, your logo, and we create a business profile. And from that business profile, we're actually able to create a whole entire month's worth of social media content and using only our AI. And it takes less than 5 minutes. And on top of that, you can even schedule it with LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google My Business. Most people don't know this, but Google My Business, you can make posts in.
It gets like so underutilized, and it's such an easy little spot to make some more content.
And you get rewarded by Google, right? So you could schedule everything. It's super simple. We know that a lot of our customers, even with Clean Pixel, not very tech savvy. We have audiences that can range from low 20s up to late 60s. We built this incredible software and working with a lot of home service pros.
How does Service Pixel like pick up on the brand? And let's use Best Damn Bookkeeping as an example, because they got a weird ass brand. Like, I don't know any other bookkeeping company that swears in it and put a beer in the logo. Just trying to be Dan, just trying to be authentic. I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody. How would it take something like that? Let's use me as the test dummy here. How would it take me, the podcasting goofy redneck bookkeeping beer drinking weirdo, and put that all together? Like what kind of posting and cadence, and how would it handle something like that?
Yeah, so we have a point system in our algorithm that basically allows for parameters for different areas. So for instance, we would first say, okay, what industry are you from? What niche are you in? Who is your audience, right? And we don't just say like, okay, it's homeowners, right? It's like, no, if you're, let's say if it's a cleaning company, if your website is very heavily focused on like eco-friendly products, right? Or if you're some cleaning companies go for more of like a preventative healthcare perspective with like, you know, containing viruses and diseases and
Yep.
surfaces and all that. We take all that information and we create this profile that has not only your audience, but specifically what type of audience you have. We also have what type of tone, kind of brand tone you have, and then some of the pain associated with your audience, right? So a lot of the content that we're putting out is specifically based only for your type of company, based upon your website, based upon your Google profile, and all the data that we're pulling in. And you could even, if you want, you could adapt that output, right, in our parameters. So if you see something that's maybe a little off, or if you want to maybe change the tone to be a little less formal and, you know, kind of more friendly or casual, you can kind of manipulate the algorithm yourself.
I wonder, as you said, like the pain points. And I was just listening to a podcast where they were talking about how to like actually capture somebody's attention. And I was thinking you could probably run an ad, something like, hey, you could probably just ignore this ad because chances are you super love to do bookkeeping and you would never think about hiring it out because you got it licked, right? You don't need somebody else to do it for you. That'd be crazy. You know, you love it. Why would you hire it out? Just got me thinking like there's so many just stupid angles you could take at running fun bookkeeping ads.
Yeah, you could take a provocative kind of marketing angle. I think is probably would do really well.
What are some of the cooler campaigns you've seen or like ads you've seen that Service Pixel has created? Like how have you seen it kind of weave its web, so to speak?
Yeah, so I think one of the best performing posts that we see is usually the transformational ones where you kind of have the before and the afters. Those are always very popular. I don't know why, but we see the data when it comes to the engagement metrics. So people are very visual, I guess. So like as you see, you know, landscaping, you see kind of this messy lawn and things are not well taken care of, and then you kind of see everything kind of cleaned and tightened up. Those always tend to do really, really well. We also don't just create like really simple flat posts that are kind of like, oh, here's a promotion for 10% off. We actually get into like educational posts where you can kind of like make a list of different things or 5 things that you should know when it comes to, you know, taking care of this, you know, particular equipment or, you know, things like that. So our AI is super smart and you're able to create literally tens of thousands of combinations. And the way that we did the design is pretty unique. And I can't stress this enough. I don't know if you've seen some of the AI imagery and what it looks like. Have you tried any of that with ChatGPT?
I haven't messed with it because remember, I'm scared.
Yeah.
But I've seen plenty of other stuff and it's like comedic, right? Like it misses pieces of reality, which is really fun. Actually, I'm glad that it does. It makes me feel better.
I'm glad it does too, because it would not be good for us. But yeah, that's called like AI hallucination, right? So obviously, when you're typing things into like a ChatGPT or Claude AI or Gronk or any of these other softwares, you're basically
Gronkowski's got his own AI now. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Gronk.
yeah,
Guys
so,
everywhere.
As you're typing it in, basically, depending on the level of sophistication of your prompt, you typically should get a pretty decent what they call output, which is the results, right? Unfortunately, with AI, a lot of things are still very blurred together because the way that imagery works is it's based on pixels, right? And when you turn pixels into code, unfortunately, that code could actually get kind of scrambled, and then try to take the text and then convert it into an image. That's why you get a lot of things like if you were typing in something for a cleaning service company, you'll see the person kind of with a mop, and then the mop will be kind of like in different parts of the floor, and then like the couch will be melted with like the pillow and the couch will be melted and drooping down.
Oh, yeah.
And the person's got too many teeth and they've got 2 left hands. It's just not there yet, and it's going to be a pretty long time before they figure that part out.
What we've done, the next couple weeks, probably, you think? long time, and
Now,
AI feels like a couple weeks.
so I think, and this is why we kind of are down in kind of the niche space, is I think if you can get hyper specific on the niche, and we've been doing social media marketing for years for cleaning companies and for other home service companies. So we know kind of the combination of like the 50 different types of posts you can make.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, they're kind of similar to each other, right? The before and after pictures, the how-to, pictures, step-by-step guides, things like that, and like promotional and educational company highlight posts. If you have a new hire, new staff member that just joined, or if you want to put up a review post or testimonial for customers, they're kind of a finite number of posts. So you start kind of with that in mind, and then from there, we've come up with literally thousands of different variations of designs. And this was a very fun process of being funny. But they were custom designs that we did, and then we ingested that, and then we created an AI that creates variations of each one of those.
Gotcha.
And now you've got a combination. Now you add your colors, your font or typography, you add your logo. Nobody's going to look the same, which is always the fear. It's like, oh, I don't want to look like the next person next to me.
Yeah.
That's how we've addressed it.
I thought of another question, so I'm writing it down quick so I don't forget. What are some of the, like you mentioned you started in the cleaning service space, the maid service janitorial space, and branched out more into home services. How, I get this question a lot, so it's fun for me to ask it to you now. How far does that extend? Does that stop at like the in the house stuff? Does that, service companies, I'll give you an example. I had a realtor one time like ask us to do bookkeeping, and I was like, man, I don't know, I've never done bookkeeping for a realtor. And I started doing the books for it, and I was like, holy shit, you're just running a window cleaning company with a bigger average ticket. Like your business model is the exact same. Your percentages are the exact same. You're just selling something a little bit bigger, and you sell 4 of them in a month, and I clean, 4,000, or at least 400 windows in a month, 400 houses in a month, and we end up in the same spot. Do you feel like with Service Pixel, is it just a matter of time before it starts hitting other services that, vet clinics, chiropractors, realtors, things like that? Is it tangential enough?
Yeah. So I would like for at least the next couple of years for us to focus on the home service business, but our algorithm, the way that we built it, if we take out a couple of our parameters, we could kind of move things agnostically across other industries. So I guess, at that point, I'm committing to full battle against Canva, right? So
Head on.
I might want to wait, a year or two more on that. But yeah, we definitely could repurpose and reuse. And we're also building a web builder as well. So in addition to the social media content calendar being taken care of in 5 minutes for the whole month, we're also building a web builder, AI web builder that's specifically for home service companies that literally can give you a website in less than 3 minutes. Yeah, and it'll have auto posting of like blogs and scheduling and things like that. So we're kind of working on that in the background over the next couple months.
Do you see? Is there a? Oh, I got to grab another beer. My wife. This is my favorite Christmas present, by the way.
You got a cooler?
My wife bought me this little mini fridge that I can stack like 6 beers in, and it never leaves. It never leaves the office here. Just got a couple stickers on. Like, holy shit! It's the same fridge. You got the same fridge as me. Yours is missing these cool stickers. Yeah, you're the first person I've ever met with the same fridge. It's probably because both of our names are Dan. That can only. True.
I just didn't want to walk the 30 feet downstairs,
Yeah, I had to bring my beers up here and chill them down up here. What the hell was I gonna say? I was saying something industry specific, but then I got carried away with my mini fridge. With industry specific stuff, is there here's where I was going with it. Is there like a right size of client? I mean, is Service Pixel something that if you're doing 50,000 and you're just starting out, everything works and applies, and if you're doing 50 million and you got 10 locations across the US, game on still, and probably more game on because you got more stuff to pull from. How do you apply it and talk to different size business owners about it?
Yeah, so I would say Service Pixel's main audience is going to be your smaller to mid-size home service companies. So I would say maybe below 20, 25 employees
Okay.
is kind of our sweet spot. And the reason why is because once you get past 25 employees, there's an argument to be made that you could probably hire somebody in-house as a marketer, right? That's a dedicated resource, or you can hire an agency, right? And you could, kind of go after that. Whereas the smaller, for the cleaning industry, like a solo cleaner or somebody who has 2 or 3 technicians or 4 technicians in the field, that person's got so many hats. And sadly, one of them is a social media marketer.
Yeah, the one they're the worst at. But like,
Yeah.
I will make the call that they probably avoid bookkeeping more than they avoid social media posting. I think I'm like one rung lower on that totem pole.
Yeah.
For most.
So what I've learned from our conversations with clients, it's usually they have a nephew or a niece or a daughter or a son, or it's one of their staff members who's a little bit savvy in Canva.
Yeah.
And that's the person they try to get to do it. And then the son goes off to college or he graduates, and then it's like, okay, now I need to hire somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to Fiverr, they're going to Upwork and trying to get a freelancer to do it. And a lot of the times they're spending a few $100s and they're burning some money, and it's just the quality's junk. Mm-hmm. It's very off-brand. Some of the spellings, grammatical errors, the design sucks, or it's been borrowed from somebody else. So then they go back to the drawing board and they're like, okay, well, maybe I need to get an industry professional. So then they hire a coach, right? Or someone who has, not quite an agency, but let's say an industry-specific marketer, right? And that person, unfortunately, for the smaller kind of under 5 or under 10 employees, they can't afford that on a regular basis. So it's not sustainable. Usually they hire them for a month and then they kind of let them go because they just can't really afford $1,000 or $2,000 a month, for like a part-time marketer.
Yep.
Especially kind of starting out, just doesn't make sense.
Do you have, I don't want to get into like pricing and how your service works, but I think the lead-in question is, do you have different tiers of your service that this one's for smaller, somebody that just needs like one platform. This one's for somebody that's on multiple platforms and needs X amount of posting. How do you layer that in?
Yeah. So learning from my first startup company that I had is keep things simple, right? When it comes to pricing, especially subscription services. So we just basically have one pricing. Okay. And it's like, here you get access, and that's what the pricing is. We do offer a 14-day free trial. So that's included. So you can kind of test things out. And essentially it's extremely affordable, and we're kind of going to have a price increase, just full transparency.
You should. Every coach that is out there is telling you to raise your prices. So you should raise your prices too, Dan.
Yeah. Yes.
Darlene, don't worry. I'm not going to raise your price. Okay. Darlene just checked in. She said I just asked the question she was going to ask. I beat her to it.
Nice. Well, see, we don't even know which Dan it is. That's the funny part.
Right? Yeah. Could have been anybody. Could be anybody.
Yeah. So our pricing is $99 a month, which is a fraction of what it would cost you. Even if you went overseas for a freelancer, you're still going to spend more money than that. You're in the driver's seat. You have the ability to approve the posts and then schedule them. And it's amazing. So we have that, and then the website side will be coming out later, and then we'll have a combined kind of like 150 price point package to say your online presence is now taken care of with these 2 other products. And we have some other stuff that's exciting on the roadmap that's coming. So yeah, it's pretty simple, straightforward. $99 a month, and our goal is to get to 10,000 home service companies over the next little bit. So that's kind of my mission right now.
I'm about to ask some really selfish questions. Starting with, could this work for a bookkeeping company?
So we would have to undo a little bit of code to make it happen. We've been approached by, I'm not kidding. It was a pooper scooper company.
Oh yeah, I'm
So
working
yeah,
with a few pooper scoopers. I got some pooper
yeah.
scoopers in my
So
network.
pooper scoopers we can actually probably work with because it's still pretty
Yeah, they're
on par
cleaning.
with the
They're just
service.
cleaning. They're
Yeah,
cleaning the
yeah,
outside instead of the inside.
yeah. Just the before and after pictures will look a little different.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, we've had hair salons and like some other types of companies approach us. Not quite there yet, but yeah, in the future, definitely there will be an opportunity. I think that we could actually do some of your social media marketing.
All right, put me on your list, whatever, wherever you keep your list of people to talk to. How do you decide which platforms to go to? Is it dependent on the client and which platforms they use? And then how does the AI, because each platform is like different as to how like the content works, right? Does the AI, I assume the AI recognizes that, right? Because it'd be looking and learning from that platform. Give us a little bit of a platform breakdown of how it all works in that space.
Yeah, so we like to give the user or customers the driver's seat when it comes to which platform. So right now we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google My Business. We are working on, and this is another thing in the background of creating Reels. So that'll unlock YouTube and TikTok. So pretty much all the major platforms, that are out there. There's other ones like Threads. I haven't seen a lot of people leveraging it. There's something called, have you ever heard of Blue Sky?
No. Well,
I'm gonna
I've
do
heard of Blue
yeah,
Skies. That was my old business, but I try not to
yeah,
talk about it.
yeah, yeah. There's a couple of other. Reddit's another one. If there's a high demand for it, we can definitely add it. But we kind of allow and enable our customers within our interface to select which ones they want to turn on and turn off, and then from there, the AI is adjusting based on what's like best practices for each platform.
Does it pick up on like keywords, right? Because like I was looking at our YouTube channel and it's not great, but we are like our knowledge of the keywords and whatever else is terrible. And so I started exploring like how do I what do we need to leverage to write our posts? Because I don't know how to know that, but some software sure does for to meet the algorithm, right? But it was like $1,000 a month. I was like, geez, like
Yeah,
what how much do we want to pay to mess with this thing? Oh, my co-host is in the house. Now, oh, he jumped in and then he jumped back out. We'll see. Maybe he'll come back. Um, does it know the keywords and stuff so that when it's like creating the post, it's giving the algorithm what it wants, so to speak?
yeah. So not only is it creating based upon certain keywords for each specific niche, it's also taken into account other parameters like location, right? So if you're trying to kind of call out an area or a neighborhood, it also can do that. It's also doing all the hashtag research underneath it as well, right? So that's also included inside of the post, and it's already. I don't know if you've ever done the hashtag research. It's a mess, right? Like to try to actually, look up what's the high visibility hashtags within your niche. Our AI automatically does that for you, so you get kind of the maximum visibility. Um, we also obviously use your website, right? So we're using words from your website. Our captions, the wording on that is also producing a lot of the imagery, right? So let's say if there's a design, but it has an image kind of like embedded in the design itself, right? This wouldn't be a good user experience if I'm a plumbing company and a landscaping image comes up, right? Like that to me is a massive miss. That
Yep.
happens all the time with AI. Well,
Yep.
we have a certain way of checking, and we have basically an agent that we have AI overseeing AI.
I have
As
a question about that written down.
Yeah,
We're gonna get back to that.
yeah. Yeah, so we have some safeguards in place to basically course correct in real time. Um, there's a lot of things going on when it comes to the content itself and correlating it to the design,
Yeah.
without getting into like the actual specifics, but it's keywords, right, that are triggering the design itself based upon your profile, based upon the content, and then that goes into the design.
Yeah. What here we got a couple comments we got to hit quick. Darlene says it's a need in the world, talking about the someone
Amen.
doing your social media posting. Then she noted here Red Note and Blue Sky were a thing back in January, all the way back in January when TikTok was almost over.
She's
Thanks for
right. She's
chiming
right.
in.
I remember that. I remember when TikTok, the whole thing, and you got like the little post,
Oh
the
yeah.
the window that said it's about to shut down. And then there was people saying, go to these, like Red Note, which was a Chinese social media company, which was, ironic because it's like TikTok is from China. We don't want to do that. And then it's like everybody's going to download the #1 app in China now. Like,
yeah. We're going pure cancel culture.
Yeah.
We don't know why we're running. We're just running, and we're gonna run to something stupider. It's gonna be great.
All right. So fun fact, but I probably shouldn't mention this, but
these are my favorite ones. These are my favorite.
So I got a new phone right when this whole TikTok thing was kind of like going kaputs, and Clean Pixel has a TikTok, right? So I had to make sure to keep running that with our team, and I had no access on my phone. Well, I went to go download TikTok on my new phone that I got because the other one died. And at that particular point, the App Store stopped carrying TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, we're in bed. I'm like, shit, like, what are we supposed to do with this? So I had an idea and it worked. So I downloaded a VPN on my phone, right? And then I logged in. I went to the settings on my phone, went to the App Store and changed it to Canada. Like the Canadian App Store, and then I used the VPN to show that I was in Canada.
Yeah.
And then I went in, I downloaded it. Once I downloaded it, undid the VPN, switched back the App Store to the United States, and I had TikTok.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. I've thought about using a VPN to try to restart on Facebook, but I'm also like, nah, I just don't want to. I don't want to play the runaround game. Like, I don't want to be in hiding. I just want them to give me my damn account back. That's all I want. That's all I want. Okay, now Rob looks like he's back. Is he back? Rob, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
What happened? Did you jump on and then your wife said, Rob, what are you doing?
I jumped on and then I was like, oh, they're still going. Let me go get earbuds. And then I couldn't see the earbuds on the counter, so I was like, all right, crap, where are they? So I had the earbuds and
a bourbon.
Go make my drink.
There you go. I know you so well, Rob. I know you so well. Dan, yeah, I've got 8 bullet points here that are going to solve all the world's problems once you answer them. Darlene's just laying it out. Crypto Dan is a fool. that was the guy that hacked me. He's Crypto Dan, my alter ego. But before we start talking high level world life-changing AI topics here, how the hell does somebody get a hold of you? And if somebody like Rob, who owns a power washing business in Salisbury, Maryland, wants to use Service Pixel, what's the process like? How does he get a hold of you? How does he get signed up? And how does the implementation work for a Rob?
Yeah, no, it's super simple. So servicepixel.ai is our website. You would just go there, and right now we're actually taking on batches of companies, just because that's kind of how we're rolling everything out. So you would hit request now. You can go in and even see some examples of some of the outputs or some of the designs that we have and captions. But if you go to servicepixel.ai, that is one way. Another way would be through email, which is at support@pixelproducts.co, which is kind of the umbrella company for Clean Pixel and Service Pixel.
I have another question for you, but I was writing a note down to have Andy, who's my old business partner in Minneapolis, look you up. How does, I'm asking this question really slow because I'm a man, I can't multitask and like say one thing and write down another thing. But how does somebody like Rob, perfect example. Rob used to create a lot of like owner facing content. I don't know if you still do it as much, Rob, but a lot of like, hey, Rob Anderson, Clean Power Wash, Salisbury, Maryland. I'm out here doing this. And that I do a lot of that right on here. Like, hey, Dan Plata, we're doing this podcast. We're doing this thing. How does Service Pixel integrate stuff like that where it has like an owner personality to it? Like, is there still a place for the owner to make content and then Service Pixel is using some of that? How does that all like play together? And I imagine, I don't want to like lead you too much, but I imagine some owners are like, hell no, I don't want to do that. And some are like, put me on that camera. Let me out there. Like, this is going to be fun. How does that stuff come together?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we have a lot of clients, especially in the clean pixel world. I can think of a couple dozen of them that are, I would argue that the owner of that business is the brand, right?
Mhm.
You know, you've got your company brand and then you've got your brand as a person. And sometimes the personal brand is actually bigger than the company. So for those folks, we are going to be developing some video areas that you can actually kind of upload to our system and schedule it that way, which satisfies that group. There's also some mechanisms. I won't get into too many specifics, but I've found it in another niche that we're going to be implementing. That's a reel generator that we can actually take images and create reels out of images, which I don't think anybody's doing today. But we've already kind of figured out the optics of how we would do that. So to your point, if you're a person who's more of on the face, right, or on the brand, we're going to have in the future some areas that you'll be able to create content within that. Our main focus right now is kind of removing the friction when it comes to how much time you're spending in Canva, on ChatGPT, on all these systems, or hiring a freelancer or hiring a marketer to do all these things for you.
Rob, you keep the combo going. I got a kid screaming. I got to go see what's going on.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's kind of like our focus right now is basically those types of content that you would normally hire somebody to do in Canva.
Mhm.
And then later we'll kind of focus on like the personal branding and video content.
So I'm on your website right now because I'm curious. As Dan said, so I have a YouTube channel. I've got like 600 videos on there. I am at I don't know, like I filled up an entire 2 terabyte Google Drive. I've got like another 3 terabytes in another drive, and I have Google Pro or GoPro Pro Premium, whatever. Which sidebar, they've got to stop sending the same. They send one push notification a week for specials, and it's the same damn thing of 50% off. And I'm like, guys, I have this. Do you not have something different to offer me? Like, offer me a different GoPro every week. Like, I might buy another one. But like the struggle that I always had with, and let's jump on GoPro. So GoPro uses their AI to take a bunch of videos that I've made, and then it throws it through a template and like doesn't edit it as well. And I had a VA for the past, I don't know, had for almost a year and a half. And it got to a point where like he would edit stuff okay, but like getting the captions to make sense, getting the content to like, there was very much an issue with somebody even after a year and a half of trying to curate, stuff. And it was, I Dan Young, I've known you for, I think I've been on there for 4 minutes, right? What I struggle with is getting this, if somebody started editing Dan's videos and making them poetic, we would be like, what in the world's going on? And like, that's
what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
Dan, not only is he selling crypto, he's now writing poetry, and it's not about fishing or beer. So something's definitely wrong. Like that's where like, how does what you do capture that voice?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So when you're saying that, are you talking about the written content, or is this still in the context of video?
I'd say more the context of video.
Okay.
And we constantly had issues with, there was so much stuff. It's like, dude, the whole point of all these videos ultimately help others and hopefully make some money. And if every single one of these videos is also getting a copyright infringement because of the music that you're using, but you're taking 45 minutes to figure out a song, we got a problem. Like, let's find something that I can put on this and not get my videos dinged. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So our initial focus is going to be mostly for like static designs and images, probably for like the next 6 months, I would say. We are working on a reel generator, and then to your point, I've used GoPro's subscription service too. We went on a Disney trip a while ago, and you've got this whole entire vacation, and it's like I want a 2-minute wrap up, right? Of like what
Yeah.
was this video, right? So that's like memory bank, like kids can watch it later when they get older. And so you're right. I had to go through and each individual template had to modify, cropped, speed up, slow down.
Mhm.
It is super tricky. Even some of the largest AI companies today, like your ChatGPTs, OpenAI, and a bunch of others, are trying to figure out this problem of like video editing.
Mhm.
Full transparency, when that person figures that out, if they have an API or some sort of SDK, I will probably license that from that person and go down that path versus trying to figure that out, because it's a really
Yeah.
hard problem to solve when it comes to video editing. It's there's too much nuance of like when people start and stop and kind of like, are they stopping because they're stopping, or are they stopping because they're taking a breath and trying to think about the next thought? It's kind of
Yeah.
hard to some of those real time like mechanisms.
You have to understand what's happening. I mean, I think
You know,
that's the big part of it. Like the video that it had, I was installing permanent lights on our building yesterday,
yeah,
and so I did a quick like 30-second video, and then I switched over to time lapse because hey, we don't need a 45-minute file of me, sticking stuff to a wall. We need a time lapse, and then I did another little video at the end of it. And obviously the AI took the video and it was like, let's play music and not hear any of the words of Rob saying. And like, let's just go, let's like take the angles. And it was like, what's crazy is like, that's so immediately obvious to us. But again, that's getting technology to understand like, dude, this is completely wrong. Like I
yeah,
remember old GoPro edit where it was like, okay, this is horrible. Let's try the next thing. Let's try the next thing. Let's try the next thing. And it was like, oh, look, option number 4. It finally got an idea. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So the way that I would, because obviously my background, I've worked for a lot of like different home service companies. I've had a couple startups in the space. My like background is like product strategy and product management. Um, the way that I would address the problem that you're talking about is I would go out there and look at your top, call it 100 personal brand home service companies, and kind of look at collect a library, right, of
Hmm.
all of their content and understand like what are basically like the patterns that you see, right? And kind of identify those patterns and then kind of reverse back into how do you create a solution to kind of mimic these patterns that you've seen. That would be probably the best way if I was attacking it head on. That's the way that I would do it. But I honestly think instead of the R&D that I would spend on that personally as a founder, one of these other companies, CapCut and some of these other companies are going to come out with something that's just going to be plug it in and it's done. And then they'll have an SDK for developers and we'll plug into that. And so we'll focus more or less on like creating like the designs and the design elements of
Mm.
it, less of like the editing function, because that gets a whole nother rabbit hole of how it's a whole nother business practically.
Yeah, somebody's gonna make a lot of money selling that to everybody else.
Well,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
not to like, it's you're creating templates basically, right? Isn't that?
Yeah.
And I don't,
Yeah.
and I like, I'm sure that it's more involved in that. Like that's always the, you know, just like CapCut, it's got 8,000 templates for you to just pop stuff into, so you're not restarting from scratch each time. And the only thing I'll say is that I love the way that you can change ChatGPT to like, I finally was like, I need the voice of like Gary Vaynerchuk. Like that's my style. Like go ahead and do it. And it like once it started, and I forget who the other 2 or 3 people were. It was so spot on. I was like, I can hear Gary like rattling this off. And I was like, that was the intensity, the aggressiveness, the passion. I was like, this is what I was looking for, not so today, let's go power wash and it will be magical. And it was like, this is not, no, you want to see an awesome picture? This is an epic transformation. It was like, yeah, I hear you, Gary. So
That's awesome. I actually, on that note, my wife was showing me something last night that there was a way that, like, I guess some people are putting together these TikToks when it comes to taking people that are pretty famous, like a Theo Vaughn or Joe Rogan or whatever, and they're creating like babies, like AI babies
mhm.
faces, and basically it's their voice on a podcast and the baby's like talking.
Mhm.
And so like people are just kind of like stripping down like these existing content and then like just putting a new face on it. And then it's, you know, obviously funny, hilarious, whatever. And it goes viral. And now someone's got a TikTok channel with a bunch of baby faces on it.
There's the two guys that are like sitting on the dock telling dad jokes, like bad dad jokes, make me laugh. And now it's like the baby version saying the same things, and it's definitely way funnier because of course it's like the little baby like gives a slight giggle, you know, and it's like, yeah, this is fun.
It's adorable. It's this is a deja vu because this came up on our radio show like 4 hours ago. We were talking about the babies. There, what the other one? There's one like My 600-Pound Life or whatever, and that guy being made into a baby. I heard that one. Heard that one's pretty funny too. All right, we're going. I don't know if we're going small or big. I think we're going big. Depends how you frame this. Like I said, I got.
What are you comparing to?
I don't even know because I'm not AI. AI would be able to answer that question better than I can. But I want to like explore where the hell the world is going and just kick that around for a while. I think it's super interesting. I don't think there's any right answers. I don't think there's any wrong answers. I think that's kind of what is fun, why it's fun to talk about. So I think at the lowest, I don't know if this is the lowest level, but it's like the closest to now. I think I have some things that I'm like underlining here where I'm like, if I look at where this thing ends, like that's kind of where I start is like, man, what's the end? What does the end of this look like? But in the shorter time, here's an immediate question is as AI like takes more hold, what are ways to differentiate? Like, is the differentiation just which AI you're using? Like at some point, do they all like country music struggles with that already today? They all play the same chord, right? Like what differentiates? They really struggle to come up with something new and different because it's like, well, this works. So every song's going to sound the same, right? So how do you differentiate in a world where everybody's like chasing the same type of tool?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think if you're the source, right, you know, talk about OpenAI, you know, Anthropic, which is Claude, and a bunch of other large language models, I think over time it's going to be hard. Like I use a bunch of these tools. You know, ChatGPT is really great at these specific type of tasks, where Claude AI is actually better at creating like prototypes and things like that, right? So I think it's based upon use cases. Like some of the large language models are just better with different use cases. And then as far as kind of what we're doing and kind of how it relates to all that is we're focused on niche markets, right? So we're trying to make sure to get really good at those niche markets and be kind of the go-to when it comes to those specific industries. Whereas the high-level OpenAI is still, especially on the design side, it's not worth the R&D to invest to figure out how to do this specific vertical, right? They're trying to go after the broader market. It's almost like Google Maps. When I had that roofing AI startup company, we looked at Google Maps, right, for the aerial imagery. And what we found is, and I didn't know this till then, Google Maps, their objective isn't to be very high quality imagery. Their goal is to cover the world. So they're more concerned about like everybody at like all over the world coverage versus like, oh, I can't even see the quality of this roof. They don't care about that, right? They don't care about the girl in the back and the pool and stuff like that. So when it comes to some of these other companies, one of the ones we partner with, Geomni, those companies actually go even further down on the level of the roof, where you can actually start to see like almost like 4K quality, right? And they weren't, the thing is they couldn't cover outside of the North American continent, right? So they weren't focused on covering the world. They were focused on being really good at this specific thing. And so we're kind of doing the same thing where we're not trying to be kind of everything for everybody. We're trying to do it really, really, really well for specifically home service companies. And we know it's just a huge pain point because we've had hundreds of clients. You know, I looked at my Calendly analytics last year, and I met with, I think, one-on-one with like 130 owners. And I just kept hearing the same thing over and over again. It's like, social media sucks. I hate doing this. I'm not a creative person. I'm not a designer. I didn't sign up for this. But it's like you kind of need to do it, right? Because otherwise, unless you're running, ads, organic content, you're going to have to regularly push out in front of your customers in order to make sure to stay top of mind. And for people that are looking at you, let's say in Facebook groups, which is a great acquisition channel, or Nextdoor is another great acquisition channel. What do people do? They go to your Facebook business profile, right, to go vet you and check you out. They go to your website to go vet you and check you out, right? So if I want to check the box, is this person, yeah, they were recommended in this Facebook group, but now I go to their website, they don't have one, or it sucks. Or I go to their Facebook page and they posted 4 months ago and it's some ugly whatever job they did. Like, I got 4 referrals, but I'm not going to hire this person.
Yeah, but your social proof sucks.
Yeah. So you got to cover that box. That's the thing that we're covering.
I have a love-hate with it, because I had pointed out, again, back on the episode earlier, Dad, I had made the statement, like, I haven't, it's probably been a month since I've had Facebook, or a few weeks at least. And man, I'm like very happy not having it. Like I don't like social media, and it's such a relief to like not get caught up in it. But case in point, like Darlene in the comments, so she's coming through Facebook because Jai, my producer, jumped in and like linked to some of our business pages. I mean, I get to see Darlene maybe once a year, and she's the shit. And we get to interact on Facebook mostly. And so there's so much value in that too, that like I get to be with my people, right? And like some of my favorite people that when I'm running a business that's remote, Rob, but I'm coming out with the fam to see Rob this summer. But it's like so much of our interaction nowadays is in social media. It's like, man, if I could just have the parts of it that I like and dismiss all the parts that I don't like having to see anybody else's posts, I'd be totally fine. But it's such a conundrum for me of that, like, love hate. And you just get the good with the bad. I don't know that there's a way to, I don't see a way for me to improve it for myself. Besides, you just got to like have the self-restraint to ignore the shit that they're trying to put in front of you to piss you off to get you to interact.
So
like
not being is
yeah.
I was gonna say, not being as deep into the AI stuff so far, but I think then what you're going to see is you're going to see those people that just go super deep into ChatGPT and like figure out all the crap that they can do with it. And it's going to be, at what level are you operating in that? Dan, you've already mentioned Claude. I was listening to the AI Daily Brief, and it's probably been 2 months since I listened to that. But it was always crazy to hear all the new things that were happening. And that's something that we're, Morgan Knox, she's strong on 6 of them or 10 of them or whatever. And there's other people that have figured out, okay, it's going to be, how do you figure out a way to then get your 3, different AIs to talk to each other? It's like when they put, what was it, the Echo Dot, the Alexa and Google thing, then they like set them all to answer each other's questions and talk to each other. And then they recorded the chaos there. But it's going to be interesting to see. So
somebody's got to say which AI is in charge. Like you said, Dan, earlier, like I put this AI in charge of that AI. Like this one's responsible for that one. You still need an org chart.
I played around enough with them to know, like, at least for my own business, which ones are really good at certain things and which ones I'm like, I'm not even going to waste my time with that one. Like that's not a task for this one. I haven't given, I just started messing around with, what was the name of it? It's called Gamma. And I saw an ad for it, and so it does design like PowerPoint designs and stuff like that. And I asked it to put my website in and did this whole thing. I wasn't impressed at all. It was like so off. It was like showing, the imagery that it was showing was like people, like a dad with like his kids on the couch. And I'm like, I'm an AI startup company that's doing social media market. Like, why am I seeing like a nighttime they're watching TV? Like, just, so when I see that, maybe I'm kind of quick to judge, but I'm out as a user. right? Like I'm going through a trial and I have a certain amount of, I guess, expectation, and when it doesn't align with that expectation, I kind of, I don't want to spend. And this is what we've experienced with Clean Pixel, is like we've heard from customers regularly. I want it just to, I'm lazy. I want to just have it do it for me. I don't want to touch it, right? And like that's kind of what we're doing with Service Pixel. Now you could still control it. We still have a Canva-like editor in our system. So if you want to change the image, you want to swap the colors, you want to change the topography, you want to do something different with it, you can manipulate the designs. That is also something that's pretty unique too. A lot of the AIs today, including ChatGPT and others, when you're asking it to do a post for you or something like that, you can't edit anything, right? So we've taken basically the pixels from the image, converted them to a JSON file, reconverted them back into something that you can actually manipulate and edit, which has been very fun to accomplish, especially when you have so many different designs, because each design is structured in a certain way, and it's very complicated. But you're able to manipulate our designs. You know, if you don't, let's say if you don't like a certain part of it or portion of it, you can delete that or remove it. And we're trying to make sure that we account for like those edge cases, because we have like two different types of users. We have one user who's like, just do it for me. Like I want to spend 5 minutes on this a month. I do not care about designs, but I know I have to do it because my customers need to see who I am and need to see relevancy and all this stuff, social proof. And then you've got the other person's like, I kind of like a little bit of designing, but I just don't have the time to do it. I also want to make sure I'm controlling my brand. So that person might go in and edit a little bit and then schedule everything.
So, and that's where like, and I don't know what you're, again, we're still trying to learn all this, right? That's what I always liked about 99 Designs. Like when you went to go get like a logo design, it was like, hey, look at this page of 50 design logos. Go ahead and just click all the ones that you like. All right, now let's look at another page of 50. Click, up to 10 that you like or whatever. And so it can get that feeling of what you like. And that's where the last time I was messing with ChatGPT and getting some pictures, and it was generating 2 options. Like that's always the hard part, is that like when we've had to do wrap designs for our trucks and things, where it's like, this is what I'm looking for, and you pay the designer, here's $1,000, and they're like, boom, here's your one picture, and it's like, that sucks. Tell me what about it sucks. It sucks. Can you give me like if you can like give me 4 different designs? And like we went with wrap designer years ago, and it was like 2 of the designs had the logo like this, and the other 2 had the logo like tilted 45 degrees. Like, are you're really going to tell me that that's like, now I have 4 designs? Like, this is garbage. Like, you haven't. I was looking for different concepts, and the only way I could, we found another company that it was like, dude, I love this design, but it was a pain in the ass to get to that, and that's where like when we did same thing with 99 Design for like some other logo stuff, and had a bunch of different people compete. Like that's really what I want with AI, is like, give me 4 designs, and then let's go down that that pathway. Okay, these 4 I like. I like option number 3. Make it better this way or whatever. Like that really excites me, and being able to get closer to that. Like we've been trying to do a self-gen postcard that we could leave at a house, and that then the office could then fill it out same day when I like do this self-gen at the house, and then they're going to pop that into the mail and be able to go ahead and send that out. And so like it has to be simple. It has to work, in this format, but also have to work. And so we've been trying to. My VA messed with that for like 2 months, and it never got to where I wanted it to. I gave the same prompt, like I talked about it for a minute, got the transcript from the Google or from Recorder, threw that into ChatGPT, and like 2 options later, I was like, yeah, this is what I was looking for. I gave the same information to 2 different human beings, and they couldn't figure it out. And ChatGPT in 2 iterations was like, man, this is good. Like,
it's easier. I mean, it's just so much faster to iterate too. So it's like kicks it to you, and you're like, no more of this. Kicks to you, no, I don't like that. More of the other thing. No, and so it can just. Whereas and I think that's where the most utility comes out of it, is you can just be like boop 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 boop, boop, and it can process so much faster than a human doing it, which gets me to the end of the world, which is where this conversation's going. We're going to the end of the world. Here's a couple things we got to cover. Trying to think. I think this is my next one. We're working towards the long term. What's the fallout of this stuff? But the next one, we talked about kind of how to differentiate. I think there's two things that go together here. How do we start, like as it gets better and better, how do we tell what's real and what's fake? And what regulation starts to come in? Like, I have to imagine regulation starts to come in about how it can be used and where it can be used. Right now, it feels a whole lot like the Wild West, right? There just isn't any regulation around it. And so is it coming? Is it going to come? And is it going to like mandate that if it's made by AI, it has to say like made entirely by AI or made partially by AI and influenced by AI or totally original content? Like, how is that?
Okay.
How would you tell?
I saw an article, and it was China's building like their version of the Pentagon, this underground, super secret AI, not AI, but like just this massive security center, right? Looks crazy. Looks like how they're building the line in the Middle East or whatever. And then just in the literally, like you have like image credit Dan Plata, created by Dan Plata, typing in some phrases into this AI. And it was like, so I mean, I get it. Like, this makes sense that you wouldn't exactly be able to fly a drone over the construction of a Chinese like super spy center and post that on the internet. But it was everything else until you read that tiny caption. Nothing in the article, nothing else indicated that was total BS. Like, it does not look like
could
that.
be fake, right? The whole article could be just AI.
Oh my gosh!
So, like, how do you know? How do you regulate it? How do you regulate a robot?
How do you regulate fake news and fact checkers?
Yeah, like so I heard this thing, and this is way before the whole AI movement, which I thought is like, okay, who's in control, but then who controls the controller?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, who regulates the regulator? Right? And that's kind of an interesting question. Elon talked about this like 10 years ago, with regulations with AI and like how to have like governance over it. And, talking about once the genie's out, and right now the genie's out.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple different areas. So like, let's talk about the different types of AI. So let's talk about video AI. Let's talk about robots, right? And then other generative AI, more text-driven, content-driven, whatever. On the content side, I did see something recently with OpenAI putting like watermarks inside of their code, that if you're basically taking certain text in the background, they're doing some sort of watermarking that they're going to start implementing. So, for the college kids, I guess, that are writing their whole article, summary of a book, obviously there's other detector software that you can reverse undetected and, make it natural sounding and all that other stuff. But I know that that's one thing, is watermarking is a big one. For video, Rob, to your point, I saw the same thing. I was on YouTube or it was TikTok. And it said something around like, this video was AI generated, but it's so small in the bottom left corner. And I'm watching this thing, and I actually went to go show my wife. I was like, look at this. Like, look what this person's doing, or look what, what's going on. And then I'm like, wait a minute, it's fake. Right? And here I am, an AI founder, right? What about my wife's grandparents that are 83 years old?
They're getting sold some shit.
That's truly the scary part about it. And then you see, like, again, people of higher intelligence getting fooled and realizing that they
get spammed right out of their Facebook account. I swear to God.
Yeah. I mean, so Dan Young, this is because clearly Dan Plata has like lost his level of intellect now. But that's the scary part. Again, it's people just not even being able, like, there's so many people that just struggle with life in general. And now you're going to have this stuff where, oh, yeah, you know, like when it took a real human to catfish you, right? Now, when it's an AI agent that just swindles you out of everything, including your Facebook logins and all that stuff, like that's gonna like, and I don't even know how you compete, like not compete. How do you fight back against that, right?
So yeah, like if you don't even know you're being fooled, I'm actually going to contact this guy, and I'll let you guys know an update on this. I was using a software for email marketing, for a newsletter, and I had met the founder of the company, and I recognize his voice. He has a little bit of an accent, and he called me out of nowhere, which I was like, that's kind of weird. Like they're not huge, but it's just kind of weird for him to call me and say like, hey, like, were you thinking about reusing the software? Blah blah blah. And at one point, I'm like, is this AI? Like, did he voice clone his voice? And now his AI is calling me? Because I have seen AI that's so good, like 11 Labs and HeyGen and some of these others where you could clone your voice. And like, is he sending an avatar to call me to basically get me to resubscribe to the software?
Dude, what? Okay, so Montgomery County, it's like the richest county in the United States, right outside of DC.
Yeah.
Teacher or principal was fired because a student didn't like him, got a bad grade, whatever, went on, created fake audio from this teacher saying whatever. It got leaked out. The principal or whoever got fired. He had to fight the entire lawsuit because he didn't actually say any of this stuff. And, I don't know what his settlement was, but even if it's millions of dollars, it doesn't account for the amount of life that he lost in having to fight this because, some little 15-year-old knew how to use AI and didn't like that they got a D on their project that they deserved a D on. Like, whatever. Like,
there's a dude that we have. I don't know, Dan Young, if you've seen him speak, but I know Rob has. And I know people that signed up for his coaching program. And a couple of years ago in his like, I'll just say he coaches how to talk to people. And they signed up for his coaching program, and it was all like phone call coaching. And they were like, this is garbage. He's definitely like, they would ask like, hey, why is it on the phone? Why wouldn't it be on video? Like, who's doing a conference call anymore? Right? You're doing this, you're on video. So the fact that like they're doing it over the phone seems really fishy. And like questions would get asked and the answer would be like not direct to that question. It would just be some like pre-recorded weird stuff. And after a few meetings, they were just like, this is the worst thing ever. Like, there's no way that this is actually the dude, right? This is like a pre-recorded thing. It's like his time, the way he talks is weird. His answers are weird. And in my mind, this is like, I hadn't even connected the dots that it was probably AI. I was just thinking,
I think it's just a shitty previous recording is what I think he did. But keep
like
going.
Predetermined,
yeah. But then I talked to some people this year that were like, oh, we did it and it was so good. It's still on the phone. And I'm just like, oh, I was thinking about this today. I was just like, his AI got better. Like, it had to be like the AI figured out, because there's no way he's sitting there talking to all these people. Right. Like, if he was, he'd be on video. He wouldn't do it over the phone.
But okay,
right? Because that's so much more authentic.
So here's the authentic part and the unprofessional part. First huge convention I ever went to. This is digging deep. Like, this is, I think, huge convention number 2, right? Howard Partridge sells his course, and Howard Partridge is all about, the professional image, doing this or that.
The whitest teeth in the world.
Yes, whitest teeth in the world. And hey, I've always got a suit on, right? His actual recordings that he was selling for his course were so legit because it literally, you could hear they had recorded everything, and there was the squeakiest ass door in the back of the room that you just heard. And it's like, sure, AI could throw that in there, but it was like you just kept hearing all like the actual, like, how do you authentically make a mess there? Love you.
See you, Tori.
She's over there. Oh,
yeah.
No, there.
No, she's gone. No, she's gone.
She's gone.
just like that. She's a ghost.
So I heard a recent AI phone conversation that was like a property management company or a real estate company or something. And it was hysterical because they were like kind of cold calling like investors to say like if they wanted to sell their properties. And the guy was in New York, in Brooklyn or the Bronx or something like that. And this woman who was an AI avatar literally had a Brooklyn accent.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn accent and was doing ums, ahs, perfect pauses, very nuanced. And I was like, and the guy had a full blown conversation with this thing. And it was like, all right, well, let me put you down. Hold on. All right. Yep. I got my guy. Got you down next Tuesday. Good to go. Email should come over. You got it? Yep. All right, cool. And the guy had no idea that he was just talking to AI.
Well, and again, that's who is going to figure out a way to use it well.
Mm-hmm.
When we were ice fishing, one of the guys called up with one of the AIs and like, yeah, I want a power washing estimate. I want to get my deck cleaned and my house washed. And Dan's cooking, turkey bacon or venison bacon.
Definitely
sorry,
not turkey bacon.
Gosh, sorry. And he's like, and I need a case of Bush Light. And the AI, like it, and it had a little bit of a pause, so like you could tell that it was AI there. It was like, okay, yeah, I can get you a price to power wash your house and your deck. Unfortunately, I can't help you with the Bush Light, but and like even like understood that was a ridiculous thing. Like, yeah, hey, I'd like a power wash and Pablo Chacon. Like it's like, okay, like, and the other AI that we listen to, and dude, what's the guy's name that has like the quick video chat thing?
Oh yeah. Damn it, I'm totally blanking on it now. I can picture him. I can picture him like he's here.
Yeah, but he called people live in our class at Sales Boost, and like one went to just an answer machine, the other one went to like the clunkiest, most horrible sounding AI that is 100% losing this guy business. Like it was so bad. And he's like, hey, I want to buy now. I want to buy now. Oh, well, we'll have somebody reach out to you in approximately 15 to 30 minutes. Can I talk to a human being? Somebody will be calling you soon. And it's like, no. You've missed we need to transfer this person. But again, that's a coding issue. That's feedback to that AI. So by now, 3 months later, they fixed it or they're out of business. Like,
yeah, no, it's interesting. It kind of goes back to the whole like hallucination part. Like obviously like imagery, you can hallucinate and things don't make sense. I wonder with the voice side of AI, how much it hallucinates and goes off the rails. Like if it becomes like obviously there's a lot of laws against cold calling.
Like an ADD business owner.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
I don't remember. It was good though. So the question was like, how do we tell what's real and fake, and what type of regulation do we need? It does make me think like, is there gonna? I don't know who. Again, like you said, Dan, who's regulating? Who's the regulator, and who's doing the regulating? Like, who's in charge of this thing, and who calls the shots? And how do you? Right? If you said if it's AI made, it has to be flagged this way, whether it's audio or video or picture. If it's influenced, it needs to be flagged this way. If it's pure human content, it's flagged this way. But then how do you know? Right? Who's regulating that?
Yeah.
How do you even tell?
So the robotic side, I think obviously there should be some level of a kill switch somewhere, right? If things go kind of off the rails, just because the level of damage that a robot can do.
What if the robot's in charge of the kill switch? What if the AI is in charge of the AI?
So
you ever notice how?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's a really good book I read years and years ago called Super Intelligence, and it talks about like how basically there's a supervised mode of AI, right, where you're basically teaching it crawl, walk, run, and you're setting parameters, and it's a baby, and then it's running, it's a teenager, and so on. But then you go into this kind of super intelligence mode, which a lot of people today call AGI, artificial general intelligence. And they're saying AGI, which is when it becomes sentient or a little bit of consciousness, where it kind of thinks on its own and learns from itself. That's what you're talking about, which is a whole nother animal.
I'll say
I think
if it gets there, we're doomed. It's gonna kill us all.
Well, in that's where you always got to wonder, like the movies, like Enemy of the State and Transcendence and stuff that came out, and you're like, why don't these get replayed all the time? But Back to the Future, man, it's still on all the time. Let's keep watching those Marvel movies, because Jarvis AI, it just creates toxic titanium soldiers that want to kill everybody. Like those are the ones where you're like, there's Enemy of the State, again, monitoring the monitors.
Yeah.
As the as Will Smith's wife says in that, or whatever, his actress wife, like, yeah, that's the point. And then who monitors the monitors, which is where the government, like your average government official has no possible way to keep up with this. And I worked at Verizon, and the stuff that they would come up with, like, hey, the do not call registry. Yeah, that worked. It's like registering your guns. Yeah, it stops people that are law abiding.
Yeah.
The scammers that call me every day about my Google listing, or about the loan department, or the funding department, or the credit card. Yeah, hey, for $13, I can get 1,000 guaranteed Instagram followers that are bots. Like, it's absurd. And so, like, there's not really a way that you have an AI like monitoring board of the government. Like, that's the scary part about it. It's like there's not a way to do that. And then the whole, this is obnoxious. Sorry, having two Dans. Good grief. But as you said,
we need some nicknames or something.
Yeah. Well, Plata's Plata.
Plata
and Dan. I almost wore my Jill's office shirt tonight too.
That'd have been good. Then we'd have been confused at which one of me was real, though. The one on your shirt or me?
But it's one of those things where, like, yeah, you can put that watermark, and then how long does it take to edit out the watermark? It's, again, back to GoPro. You could have it end with edited on GoPro, and then all you had to do is cut out the last 3 seconds and a secondary editor, and then it was just, this has been edited by Rob. I'm super amazing. Do you like my videos? Like, that's all it takes.
I mean, even easier, right? So first off, ChatGPT, you can remove watermarks. So if there's a physical watermark, you can remove it right from the logo. I can also go to Canva, use their magic eraser, erase it, right? In addition to that, the little AI generated thing on the bottom left corner, I could go to Canva, upload a TikTok or a Reel style template, and basically crop the bottom of that off, and then just produce it. So
it's like when I can't figure out how to share a meme properly, and so I just screenshot it, and then I crop it, and then I repost it like it's my meme now. And I took out the 800 other shares that were on it.
So this is I got another question I want.
We're on question number 3, I think, right? Or
I think so. I got some more, but I think from a regulatory standpoint, it kind of makes me think, right? Like, eventually the cars are going to drive themselves, and so there won't be speeding tickets, right? There won't be there's going to be like losses of things that just don't matter anymore, like things that we grew up with. But I could see it being like, hey, if you falsely post something and edit something and take out that thing, like, now that's a year in jail, right? Or like, like there's like, that's what I mean, like regulations of how do you, right now it's the Wild West, but we're going to stop caring about speeding tickets, and other altercations are going to be less important. Like, it's going to become a really serious altercation if you fake information, right? Like, we haven't figured out how to regulate it yet, but that's going to be the most damning thing to our society is fake shit. So it seems like at some point they'll have to figure out how to regulate it. I have no answers.
Well, it's about being able to distinguish reality from not reality. I mean, that's where all these, like, these AI, like, whatever, it's crazy to see it. Oh, I'm the attractive AI bot and whatever. And it's like, you're going to have these people that have these relationships with an AI that makes them feel great about themselves, and they can't talk to a regular human being. Like, that's going to happen, and they're going to feel satisfied in their life and realize, like, they don't know how to talk to somebody.
So you guys probably didn't hear that story about person that created a bot and has 70,000 boyfriends, and they're
No,
paying $1 a month. Yeah, the person's making $70,000 a month with basically an AI girlfriend. Yeah,
good on them. They
I
nailed
mean,
it.
good on them, but at the same time, it's like, wow, like is that really where we're at?
It is. It is.
So
That's
that many
where we're
guys
at.
in the basement at their mom's house, like that they
For a
need
buck.
to hit
For
the
a buck.
subscription button.
Is
Yeah.
it Wally or like I haven't there's some movie where it's like all the people are just connected to the internet and like kind of how Ready Player One was like completely you're in this fake environment and people are deciding to spend more time because they're getting more biological feedback from that instead of the real world. Like that's a good part of where this may end up.
Yeah, you're spot on. So what you're talking about with the biological feedback is dopamine hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a thing, and kind of some of the like psychology that comes behind social media is usually when you're scrolling through your timeline, there's something called a negative negative reward prediction error is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it is as you scroll, things become less predictable. So you think you're about to see this, but you don't see that. And it goes back to like gambling strategies of you think you're going to win, you think you got close that time, but you're going to win the next one, right? And like then that's when the dopamine hits, when you get that kind of like new information or stimulation from something new that you were not expecting. And so they're playing into that across the board. Video games have been using that for decades, right? You think about like as you get to the next level and like the next level's different, right? And the path is different and the character, there might be a new character or whatever, depending on what you're playing. Yeah. So we're almost like gamifying life in some ways, right? And I could see that being a massive problem because do you want to live the life that's really hard and you got to go through the grind and you got to do all the normal things that take a long time to actually see the results? Or do you want to take path number 2, which gives you all these dopamine hits? You're gamifying and it's boosting you and you just feel good all the time until your next hit.
I have the question for that. I wrote down a question based on something you said, Dan Young.
When will dopamine be available in pill form?
Yeah.
That's what you wrote, right?
No. Do lazy people end up running the world? Right? Because hardworking people are going to avoid having things that do everything for them. Right? And Dan Young, you said it earlier, like, oh, I'm just going to use all these other things to do all of my things for me. And it used to be the hardest working people because like there weren't cheat codes, right? The hardest working people would get the most done and therefore they would produce the most, and that would be who would be like in charge, was the people that would get the most done. And I kind of see like a turning point where it's like, man, at some point are the laziest people in charge because they've figured out how to not do anything.
So I have one caveat: smart lazy people will run the world.
But
yeah,
smart lazy people. I mean, like that's where I always try to tell the guys, like, I'm willing to do whatever we need to get the job done. But I am also inherently lazy, and I will literally figure out, okay, you guys, we have to move these bricks into the truck. And they're like, okay, yeah, the truck's on the same property. And I'm like, no, like how many inches away from the bricks can I put the truck before we have to put this in there? Like, how do we optimize this as much as possible? And that's that efficiency. Whereas I think what we're worried about, Dan, is the lazy guy on the street figures out a way to, he doesn't know anything, but he knows a way to build this one process. And so now all of a sudden he's making a lot of money and he's doing jack squat. And Young, when you were saying about the people just being able to the negative impact scroll, like I'm wondering about that because like, man, we canceled TV and gotten to this point where like I'm trying to find something to watch, and I don't know if it's just that there's just sucky options right now. And I've just seen so many of the shows, but like I'm struggling to find anything that's like exciting me to like what do I want to spend the next 2 hours doing and watching. Like, and it's It's also interesting. I managed to
home service happy hour podcast is usually right around 2 hours.
I can't find that on the Disney Plus yet. It's usually about 2 hours, except for when Rob stops or gets on there. Then it becomes a Titanic. Yeah, but that's that dopamine where it's like now I'm literally doom scrolling through. Is there something that I want to watch? And now I've looked through Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime Video, or whatever, and I'm like, I mean, I could watch this dystopian show series, but that might involve like 50 hours. I don't know.
Andor. You want to watch Andor? That's the right answer. Season 2.
I'm on episode 2.5.
There you go. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Sometimes I struggle to follow their story. They move along in their story pretty fast, and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm still entertained. So we'll just keep running with it. They move it pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're talking about, and I think I struggle with this too sometimes with selecting things and things not being at one point, you know, it was like, oh wow, this is a great show, and like now it's just not enough. It's like dopamine fatigue, right? Like we all have that. Unfortunately, I mean, everything, just all like the YouTube stations, the shorts, and the frequency of the dopamine hits are more frequent now, right? Because now you're watching a YouTube short instead of the YouTube video, right? So you're getting, what is it, the Opus Clips or some of the other software out there that can clip your long form content and chop it into a million pieces. Well, now those million pieces, each one of those are dopamine hits and highlight reels versus kind of watching the whole thing and maybe only getting one or two of those throughout the whole video. It's a real problem. Here's a prediction. Interesting.
Here we go.
I believe, or I have a hypothesis, I guess, that one day there will be dopamine clinics that will be all over the world eventually, but definitely here in the States, that people will go through like a rehab process for dopamine fatigue.
They're over dopamine.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
They're over dope.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Did we just come up with a business?
I think we did. I'm going. We're doing.
Well, but
I mean, there's all these different like spas that are not like a skin spa anymore. They're like a go get your IVs and go get your lymph
B12s and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have a dopamine spa.
I don't remember. There is some like futuristic. It's like a Mad Max movie or whatever, where they're like they're taking whatever out of other people because they're literally depleted from too much dopamine, too much adrenaline, whatever it is, and so they need like normal bodies for that. And so are we going to get to the power question, Dan? Like, how are we going to solve the electrical issue?
No, we'll figure that out. I think we'll figure out the water issue. We'll figure out the power issue.
So here's what the government can do, and of course, then it can't do it at the same time. Is okay. So yeah, sorry, Elon, we're going to throttle your electricity. You know, we have to slow you down. That's going to end up being the only way that you truly can slow them down. But then one of Elon's mega centers just got flagged because apparently they had like 15 diesel nuclear generators or whatever on site, and they're like, well, the global pollution that you're going to generate, you guys didn't have power plants for me, so I'm just bringing in truckloads of diesel to power my computers. Like,
the whole sustainability and eco. So I before you joined, I was saying that I took a break from entrepreneurship and I worked for a connected vehicle company, and that connected vehicle company also acquired an electric vehicle company that does charging stations all over the world. And I remember when that company was really pushing like the Green New Deal and just sustainability and like no gas powered anything. And then, you know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, especially not at that company. They had 900 engineers and 100 data scientists, super smart people. The founder
you'd
was
have quite the ego to say you were the smartest at 900 people.
Oh my gosh. No, just the founder of that company was like an MIT engineer, just super smart. And, but I said to, you know, a lot of people, I'm like, hey, batteries are pretty expensive, right? They're pretty heavy too. Our bridges and our infrastructure, our highways, if you guys want to eventually be all electric vehicles one day, our bridges can't even handle them. the weight of them. If we were to get to like 40, 50, 60% of capacity one day, we would break most of the bridges in the United States because of the weight. In addition to that, the stress on the power grid, right? So all these big municipalities are ordering these EV massive heavy duty trucks that are like tanks that weigh crazy amount of weight. They don't have the power capacity in a lot of these municipalities, the infrastructure behind it. In addition to that, they found this out in China, that the shift in temperatures, so really high temperatures, really low temperatures, the electric vehicles basically don't work.
Yeah, they're pretty useless.
So like, what are we actually
but they'll
doing?
solve that. That's going to get solved at some point.
At some
You
point,
got plug-in for diesels, so
yeah, it's just, it wasn't really well thought out, and it was like quickly rushed. Like Europe basically was like 2035 gas power vehicles, we're going offline with those, no more production after that. And then a bunch of other, the biggest companies, Volkswagen, Mercedes, Audi, BMW, I even think there's an electric Lamborghini now, like, which is crazy.
You know who's gonna figure this out? I know who's got the answer for this. AI. It'll be able to do all the calculations of like what, because I think where we all get stumped is like, yeah, gas is a pollutant. Okay, so let's do these electric vehicles, and then you got to go mine a bunch of shit, which takes a bunch of gas to go mine a bunch of shit, and you're tearing up the earth. Which, like, I don't know how you put that apples to apples, but like, we're pretty good at getting oil out, which isn't, we can't do that forever, right? It's not end all be all, but we're also like getting better at.
We can do that long enough for us to die before we run out of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different other ways for us to like get energy. It's not all going to be oil, but I think we do that sometimes as a species where we like rush a thing along before it's naturally like ready to go, and we force it.
Yeah,
and then it's not. It probably will be the right answer at some point, but like we ain't there, and so we force it really inefficiently, and then like use up a resource that would have been better off saved when we're actually good at using it instead of we suck at using it.
And that's why, like, I have 3 hybrid sales cars. They basically get 40 miles per gallon. I don't want to have to deal with something that I have to plug in, because guess what? That's going to increase the other bill over there. But if I can get 500, miles for $40 or $50 now, yeah, I'll do that all day long. It, required a small battery and
a little sweet spot.
And then, until you mention it, I never would have even thought about the battery weight.
Yeah,
like that's not either. And this so now we're into AI conspiracy, right? If they do realize that, they're hiding it from everybody, and if they don't realize it, oh shit! Like, what's going to happen when they do start realizing? And granted, it'll take like 2 bridges to fall apart, because they had 7 tractor trailers that all of a sudden weighed, I don't know, 1 million pounds, right? And they broke the bridge. And then they'll say, well, it's AI's fault. No, it's because the truck weighs triple what it should.
1 billion pounds. And I think like they'll figure that out, especially with like shipping. They are very like weight conscious. Like if you've ever tried to like load trucks and ship trucks, they are pretty weight conscious. So I think they'll figure some of that stuff out. But it's so herky jerky. All right, I got like a few more. We got a couple more to
question 4B.
Actually, there's 6 bullet points left, but this one is by itself, and the other 5 are really wrapped into like 2 different things. I have thought about this for my own business, which is I have a certain way that I like to do P&L breakdowns. Not that nobody else could do it, but it's a very like Danified way. And it adds a lot of value to our clients. And so part of me is like, man, I should record these and publish them and like teach people. And I'm like, maybe I don't want to, because once it's out there, then AI is going to steal it, right? Once it's published. And so is it reasonable to think that people start hiding stuff from AI? Like I was thinking about that today. Like we had a conversation with a client, and they're like, well, you probably recorded this. I'm like, no, we don't record those. Like we kind of go out of our way to not record certain things. We want to have human conversations, but we intentionally don't record some stuff. So I like, is that Is that a thing? I don't even know if it's a thing. I don't even know what the hell I'm asking. I'm just saying, like,
No.
this is a thought that I had. This is a thought that I had.
Okay.
Question mark?
So same thing. So and the guy I was coaching backed out last week, right? All of our coaching sessions, I took those transcripts and like Zoom went ahead and took care of like doing the summaries and stuff, but I threw them into a separate chat GPT with the thought that, you know, and so our buddy Michael Gregory, right? If he was to take the transcripts from his coaching calls that he's done over just the last 6 months, he could basically replace himself as a coach with a knowledge database that Michael Gregory.ai would be able to answer those questions with probably 90% accuracy based off of the answers that he's given for the past 6 months. And so what does that then free Michael up to do, or free up a Dan Plata to do? Drink more beers, hunt more deer, have more fun with family.
I just don't know how do you keep it. How do you keep it to yourself, right? To me, it's like once it's out there, it's out there, and then everybody's going to use it, and then it doesn't matter that Michael Gregory put it out there because now I get to be Michael Gregory.
Because only people that are paying Michael Gregory for his AI coaching get access to that.
I mean, maybe,
so like,
but
I wouldn't put that.
They're just going to replicate it and sell it to other people.
There's definitely ways to. Yeah, how do you protect that? And I don't.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm kind of there's a thought in my mind of like maybe I just don't put it out there. Right? Like I could teach people.
It's actually out there. You just don't know it. That's the other part.
Maybe.
I don't trust the internet. The fact that we're on the internet right now means that somebody somewhere is being able to record all this. And at some point we will be consumed by the AI.
That's why I just say a lot of stupid shit when we get on here. I try not to
we
say
do.
I try to say anything that's not stupid. Just go on pure stupidity. I don't want to teach it.
I just want to say I love you, AI, just in case if you're listening.
Yeah.
I'm not the one.
Please and thank you. Please and thank you.
That's interesting. Yeah, so I've thought about this too. Even like the large language models, like for ChatGPT, like if I'm prompting it for something of my business, am I giving that machine like ideas, right? To one day maybe ingest and build into their own model, or they sell that data somehow. I don't know, obviously from legal standpoint, how that would all work. But there is obviously a very large problem with, I think, a lot of people having like copyright issues and how you're taking the AI and like, where's the AI learning from? Like, what was all the information? And the short answer is it's the whole internet.
Yeah.
Right. I did find it interesting. I was on a call with Clean Pixel last week, and this is a first. I always get on a demo call with a client, and I had asked them, where did they hear about us? And they said, oh, from ChatGPT.
Interesting.
And I'm like, really? Like it's a lead gen now. So yeah, that's just look for that. I mean, like people are going to it. I'm going to it a lot more than search.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really searching for it because I don't want to have to sift through all the pages. I just want the answer.
Yeah.
So we had somebody last week who called us because his gutters were leaking. And he asked ChatGPT how to clean his gutters. And somehow in that process of asking AI how to clean his gutters, it then directed him to us to call us to clean his gutters. And so here's somebody who, and it was single story, not really a rancher, but like that level of difficulty. And again, grown adult, not great with ladders, but like that's where he was. He was at, let me ask AI how to clean my gutters.
Yeah. It's goofy. All right. I got two more for you guys. What are the jobs that won't get replaced? Right. It's hard to pick a point in time. But I think there's a little bit of questions like, where are the jobs going to be? Like, what are humans even going to do? And I'm going to hint and say, this is one reason I like the home service space. Because I think it's a little tougher to replace versus like McDonald's is going to be just run by computers pretty soon. You won't need a human in that place. So like, where are the jobs? And then like, what jobs won't get replaced? Like, what will humans be left doing? I don't know, but I'm curious.
So, do you have any Bojangles by you? You ever heard of that before?
I have heard of it. I don't think I've ever been to one, and there's none up in Minnesota. But now, just because their name is so cool, I feel like the need to go.
Yeah, they have really good Cajun biscuit sandwiches in the morning. So, but why I bring them up is their whole entire drive-through experience is all AI, which at first was kind of like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But, you know, if nobody pushes back on it, right, and it's gotten better, and now after your second or third time going there, it's like, all right, well, this is kind of what I expect. So how much longer before McDonald's, Wendy's, you know, all those companies? So that's, I do think you're right on the trades, you know, like home services. It's going to be really hard. The big thing is getting like the extremities and like fingers and like the, you know, the complexity of like gripping things and being able to like, you know, maneuver in certain areas. And I know that there are robotic companies that are trying to train. They have like suits that they have people, and they're paying these people a lot of money to wear suits that they can have like gloves on and things like that to train the model.
Like map the human movements.
Yeah.
They just need R2D2. They don't need humans. Nobody wants C3PO in their house. They just want R2D2 to come in.
You're right. Yeah, we do want R2D2.
So
they don't show R2D2 on a lot of sets of stairs, though. Did you ever notice that? He's always on flat ground.
Dude, there's those times of that. I mean, he flies. And if he packs a lightsaber, you know, I'll take a dozen.
So my assumption is, as far as jobs go, I think your white collar jobs, corporate jobs, your things that are very structured like development and data science and data analysts and all those kind of jobs, AI can easily replace some of those jobs. But I think the more manual labor, physical labor mixed with technical skill sets and more nuance, like home services, I think are pretty good for a while. I do eventually think that what will be left as far as jobs, like as all the dust settles, you're going to basically have like a new society of people. You're going to have people that, you know, I don't know if they live off universal basic income or whatever that looks like.
Hey, easy now. We're getting into my next question. We're getting
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you're basically going to be somebody who lives like this lifestyle, like bare minimum, or you could be somebody who's a creator, right? And that person creates things for consumption, and those people that live that regular life consume whatever those creators make.
I just wonder, like, does the AI become the creator, right? Like, because if you're like that, to my point, like, I'm a creator. I'm putting this out here right now. Well, AI can be me. I was trying to tell my brother-in-law, and he's a IT nerd, and I was like, you know, Neil, at least, you know, I get to do my show and it's just me, man. And he's like, dude, I can be you in like 2 prompts. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I mean, like, the first prompt, he was like, hey, write me something about this, like I'm Dan Plata from this podcast. And he wrote it. And then his next prompt was, make it sound more like Dan. And it was just like, oh, son of a bitch. Like, it was me, dude. It was just totally me. And I was like, yeah, it's like, I'm still here, right? I'm still talking to Dan Young, and we got Rob in the house, and we're having fun. I still, even if nobody watched this shit, I would do it anyway, because this is super fun for me. But it's like, even, does a creator even matter anymore? Because like AI is going to be able to create all the art, all the content, all the whatever. Like, I don't know who's the creator anymore. I don't know. I got the final. Now these ones kind of go together. You mentioned the universal income, and part of me thinks there's I'm gonna ask this one first, and then we're gonna get to that. Which is, when does AI run its first company? Like, at some point, is AI gonna be like the CEO of a company?
Yeah.
Like, it seems inevitable that AI will be in charge of something, and it'll be like, here's our board of directors, and it's ChatGPT, and it's this AI, and it's that. We got these 5 AIs in charge of our company. Like, somebody's going to do that for their own company. and basically be like, I'm putting these in charge. Like they're getting more information faster and making decisions faster than I ever could. So
Are we sure that Doge didn't already do that?
could have. I feel like their inputs were shit though, because they're like taking away public land stuff and fucking idiots, dummies, taking away the important stuff.
We actually are applying for a SBA loan, and we get an email from the one guy. He's like, yeah, we're making progress, and then all of a sudden he's like, sends an email like at 9:30 a.m. and then at 2:30 p.m. he's like, I have been fired due to the Doge cuts. Another person will be taking over. It's like, oh, okay.
Good luck, man. That's okay. AI is gonna replace you pretty soon anyway, dude.
I was like, how do I respond to this? But yeah, it is also going to become like I worked for Verizon again for 7 years. Like, people were thrilled when they got out of the automated system and talked to an actual human being, because at the end of the day, like, a human being's ability to think through what you're actually saying instead of, you don't like your bill. No, I need an explanation for why it's 37 cents higher and I'm not listening to a computer again. So,
yeah. How many years, Dan? How many years until AI is running its first company?
So
what is the company? Is it an AI company? Is AI running an AI company?
So my
it's
prediction,
be, right? It's gotta be.
Yeah, my prediction is going to be less than 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, because once AGI is hit, it's going to happen right then and there. So if that's within 5 years, it's within 5 years. I do think the first company, probably will be something financial, right? Because financial is so structured, and there's a lot of data structured financial companies that it can figure out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think there's going to be like, the three of us, right? We could potentially in 10 years from now have two companies that were running, kind of delegating access to something else running it.
Which gets me to my last thing, which is, what is?
Do I invest?
Well, so it seems like there's gonna be like a weird wealth aggregation, like the ultimate, just dysfunction of, there's gonna be a few people that like own these things, and then everybody else is just like universal income, right? There's gonna be a few owners of the few things that are running everything, and then everybody else is like, maybe has a job or maybe doesn't.
Well,
right?
But so here's
weird universal income situation.
We were talking about that earlier, and one of my friends, she's a high school teacher of some sorts, right? And all these kids are like, oh, I don't need to learn all this stuff. I'm just going to be an influencer. They all have this dream and vision that they don't need to learn the stuff in school, because they'll just be able to make money on the internet as an influencer of some sorts, or be able to make viral videos. And what's going to happen, I see, is those people will not have a skill set. They will have hoped that they had the skill set that they needed, but they don't. And so then they're going to need that guaranteed minimum income or whatever else in order to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think, here's a question for you. If everybody's on universal basic income, including yourselves in the future, and you did have an option to work, but work wasn't about money. It was just, I need something to do with my time, and I just actually, and maybe it's not work that you think of how work works today, right? Because that's all been automated. Would you work?
Fuck yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would too.
Dan, would it be an ice fishing event planner and a karaoke coordinator?
I don't know if I'd be an event planner necessarily, but I would definitely, like, because the AI would plan the event. I would need to plan it.
Yeah.
But I would take people out. I could see myself.
Plan me an ice fishing event where somebody gets dysentery, just like Oregon Trail.
Yeah. And his name is Rob. I could see myself like making shit, like carving stuff out of wood, or like doing like I like physical work, I think I would have to, even if nobody bought it. I'd just be like, this is a fucking
Mhm.
shit that I make, and I don't care if you like it or not. I'm just making it because I like it. I would absolutely have to be productive and do something. I'm miserable if I'm sitting around. Like, I am just an unhappy human. I got to be doing something.
Yeah, I would be in the same boat. I would just be tinkering in a basement like a mad scientist creating products.
Yeah, would have to be. But on the like the wealth aggregation front, one of the funny, I was having a conversation last week with a dude. The guy basically got a job as a GM at an accounting firm to come in and like fire people, like to get AI into their business and
Mhm.
lower their costs, right? And so one of the things he and I were talking about, because it's super top of mind for him, is like, how do we create these efficiencies? And he's very similar mindset, which is funny. He's like, I'm super capitalist, but also like AI is the end of capitalism, because of how it levels the playing field. Like, it takes away humans' ability to like create in certain levels, right? And it'll get better and better and better and continue to pick away our ability to differentiate each other. Like, it'll mimic us. And so one of his points was, it'll be really interesting. Like, it will aggregate wealth, right? It'll create a bigger disparity between the higher ups and the lowers. And in turn, it'll create such a disparity that you won't be able to tax 99% of the population. Maybe like 99.99999% of the population will be untaxable. And so our entire debt will be paid by the 4 people in the country that have all the money. Like, is what's going to happen. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, I had never taken it that far, but that's a good point. Like, the 4 people that own the AIs are going to be the ones that end up paying our debt off, because they're going to be the only ones that have the money to
Well,
pay.
and that's where, like, I had a one of our previous office managers. She went to go work for a real estate firm, and she built in all these AI or whatever automations. We'll call AI automations at the same time. It's a repeated process. The realtor company owner, little dumbass, like, probably couldn't turn on his own computer, right? So she's the actual value in there, but his ability to manipulate the people who can create the value is what makes him super rich. And then he tried to like cut her out of it all and like, oh, let me just run your automations. I was like, hey, as long as you have that access and password, I'm sorry, bud, did you create this? No, you didn't. So I just pressed the pause button on that automation.
I hold the keys.
Have your VAs figure that out.
Yep.
Go ahead and replicate what I did. And like, it was like a month of chaos. And they're like, okay, yes, we do need you back. Thanks. Like,
Wow.
We'll pay you
That's
double.
just-
We'll pay you double. Come on back. What do you think, Dan Young? Did we cover it all? I'm out of bullet points. I've hit all my bullet points.
I think we did.
We nailed
but
it.
are you out of silver bullets?
I'm just about, I had 4 bush lights up here, and I'm down to like the last 1/12 of this one. I'm low. I'm running low, and I got a pee, so we should wrap this thing up. But Dano, I got one final closing question for you, which is, if AI didn't even exist, let's say this would be a weird field for me to chalk because you could go in so many directions. I'm gonna say AI doesn't exist and home services don't even exist. Like, you can't even go in HVAC or whatever the hell that means. But you got to go. You wake up tomorrow and you got to go do something. And I'm gonna say it's got to make you enough money. It's got to pay some bills, right? It can't just be like non-bill paying. Like, it's got to be worth something to somebody. Tomorrow, abracadabra, you're in that world. What are you going to go do?
There's no AI. There's no home services.
He's going to join onlydans.com.
Oh shit! That is a new. I'm going to buy that URL. I'm buying that URL the minute we get off of here.
Funny.
Let's go, Jai. We're going to create that website right now.
I don't know, man. I would it's kind of boring, but I would probably do consulting work. charge other businesses to help them with their business. I like, my long-term goal ultimately is to be like an angel investor in other startups. I also want, this is a random thing, but I dropped out of college, to start my first company. I actually went to school late and then went back to college and then ended up dropping out because I was making good money and I was like, I don't really
never mind. This is a
yeah,
waste.
yeah. So but I've always had this desire to teach an anti-business school class to business school students.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I would walk down into like
Mhm.
the professors, like big chalkboard and kind of erase the chalkboard. And it's like everything you've learned in business school, fucking forget it. I was like,
The
it doesn't
business
work in the real
plan.
world. Yeah.
Throw it away. Don't
Throw it
even
away.
start it.
Yep. So, and then I would just do like a startup, kind of course, like kind of a quick hack startup course. So I want to check that box and also help other businesses, maybe do some consulting and some investing.
Hell yeah. I thought about that. Like I went for accounting and finance and economic stuff, and they never talked about how small businesses do it. They only talked about like how Fortune 500 companies run. And so they like set you up. They intentionally set you up to go work for one of the, like if I was an accounting major and all they talk about is you go work for one of the big four, you try to become a partner, and like here's your boring ass life and you're miserable for 9 months out of the year. But they don't teach you how small businesses work and how small businesses do accounting. I had to like unlearn the shit that I was taught. Not that they were doing a bad job. Like I'm not saying I didn't learn anything, but to do bookkeeping the way that we do it, I had to be a business owner. Like I couldn't be an accountant and understand how small businesses actually work. And like, what a shame. Like accounting is supposed to be like, here's the data of your business and how it works. But they were so busy teaching you how Fortune, like the manual task, not the strategy, not how to think about it, just the manual task of here's how you do this thing and here's how you do that thing. They're missing a lot. They're missing a shitload.
I call it the street MBA. I got my street MBA.
That's the most valuable one by far.
Yep.
Well, cool,
the
man.
only person that I know around me that has had to use a business plan for their business is this lady who's trying to actually open up like a senior living facility. Like she bought like an 11-bedroom house, and like in order to do all the things, she has to submit business plan for all that, and the rest of it's like, no. Are you guys generating money? Is it profit? Are you going to grow? Okay.
I got this. I have a sweet idea though. If you do need to build a business plan, you just put it into ChatGPT and then you have a business plan. So you'd probably be good pretty quick.
Yep.
You don't need to learn that in college. What a weird world we live in. It's gonna be crazy. Next few years gonna be crazy. We're gonna have Dan on like every couple of weeks to like keep up with all this shit. But super fun combo, Dan.
What's changed? Everything.
Yeah. Redo.
What time is it? What time is it? I don't know. Yeah.
You guys, if you want Dan's help with Service Pixel and any of your home service businesses, what'd you say? Is it servicepixel.com? Is it that simple? Just go to servicepixel.com.
Servicepixel.ai.
.ai. Oh, damn. Yeah. It's like super fancy. You should get the .com one too, just for stupid people like me who don't know any different, but always type in .com because we're idiots. But yeah, go check them out. Dan, you got to let me know when you start working with other people outside of home services, like bookkeeping services and anything like that. I could use your help. I could, in fact, use your help in like 150 days when my Facebook profile gets reopened up. But hey, we could do some stuff on the Best Damn Bookkeeping page in the meantime. So whenever you're ready to, I'll be your test dummy. You can test whatever you want on Best Damn Bookkeeping. But super pleasure having you. Any closing thoughts, any closing comments, anything we missed on you?
So I know we've talked a lot about AI and obviously I think AI kind of brings two different things out of people. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's excitement. What we're doing with Service Pixel and what a lot of these companies are doing is more kind of like business AI, and it's helping you be more productive and get things done quicker and helping automate. So don't get kind of caught up in the fear of AI with robots taking over and, AI robots and all that other stuff. Because obviously some of that is going on in the world, but there are, productivity AI that I actually think is going to make the world much more efficient, and a lot of business owners save a lot of headache and a lot of money.
It's the classic, like, control what you can control. What you can
Well,
control is running your business better and being more efficient.
at the end of the day, learn something. Just try it. Like you know nothing until you start learning some of what AI can do, and just screw around with it, and you're gonna find you'll be impressed by what it does.
Yep. Not all AI is created equal.
Yeah. Not all people are created equal.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. All right, y'all. I'm out of beer. I gotta pee. Dan, super pleasure having you on, man. That was a lot of fun. Whenever, I mean, hey, like, this is a forum for you. Whenever you got something new and you want to jam on it, let me know.
Yep.
We'll get you back on. I know AI is going to be changing all the time. Love the chat. Rob, as always, thanks for grabbing a bourbon and hanging out and asking some questions. Love you, bro.
Yep.
Home service homies, you guys know what to do. Even with AI, still work smarter and harder. Go earn some pride. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
See ya.
Guys.